everybody, I am Tabs Patron and I am your host, joined by Fishy with Class, and welcome to the partnership. And today we have two really interesting guests with us. We have Faana and we have Tshiamo, and welcome guys to the partnership, and I hope you guys are gonna intro us with some great information and so forth. So firstly, I would like Faana to obviously tell us a lot about himself. And firstly, I know you're an actor and a script writer, and you've been acting since the age of 12, which is epic. Like, please tell us more about yourself and stuff like that.
Okay, I'm Faana Moloi. I'm an actor, presenter, and also a dancer. So I've been acting since the age of 12. Yeah, acting has been my first passion. I can sing a bit, but yeah, but then I went to school in Kwatwa, Tuto, and I furthered my studies at University of Free State. I'm doing my final year in BA Communication Studies.
Okay, that's great. That's great. That's great. Also, our second guest is Tshiamo. Tshiamo, you also do a lot of things. Amongst one of those, you're also a journalist and you're also a blogger, and I heard you're also an editor. Tell us more about those things and more about yourself, basically.
Yeah, I'm Tshiamo Malatji. I mostly write. I do all sorts of writing, journalism. I've got a publication. Right now I'm writing for Culture Review. We speak about film, media and culture in general. Most of what I want to do is have conversations like the ones we're about to have now. You know, just speaking about the issues we have in society and how we can solve them. So I'm excited for that, yeah.
Okay, that's great, that's great. And I'm gonna let Fishy take over and we can just speak about a topic, and yeah man, I hope to hear great things from you guys, definitely. So yeah, let's get going.
Alright, thank you guys for watching. Tshiamo, can I challenge you a bit?
Yeah.
Like, are you up for what I'm about to do right now? Will you do like our poem? Let me challenge your writing,
a poem?
Yes, recite something about polyamory.
You know, I've never actually written a poem about this very specific topic.
So you're not those ones that can recite on the spot.
What I can say about romance, there was this poet, his name is Khalil Gibran. He wrote The Prophet. And he said that love of the soul is like spirit in the wine, it is concealed. And you know, I think that for many of us, like relationships that we form, the best way to express that poetically is to look at the soul, you know, the spirit. Exactly, that which, whether it's inside of us or in the world, you know, it's like this intangible, this non-physical entity that connects us with strings to other people.
Yeah.
So it's not a poem per se, but it is poetic.
It is poetic.
And I think polyamory is most poetic because it's the way in which we tie those many strings of our identity with others.
Yeah.
That was like more of like a nice description of a painting. That was beautiful.
So when we started off with this idea of a topic, the first thing that came to my mind was how women are frowned upon for having multiple partners, but it was okay for men to do it. Like, it's totally acceptable. Like, we're raised in a community where you're even told that all men cheat, or you know, it is normal. When you say you want a man that doesn't cheat, people tell you that you must create that man yourself. So what is your thought on that, Faana?
Okay, about women who have multiple partners.
Yes, about how society sees women when they have multiple partners, but when it's done by men, it's okay.
Okay.
Yes.
I think it's been something that is normal. Yeah, multiple partners. But then for a woman, the society sees women as, I'm sorry for the word, hoes and everything. So they like, women can never have multiple partners. At the end of the day, you have to be married by one person. So I think the society has to normalize women having multiple partners, because every day we're attracted to different people. You cannot get attracted to, I'm sorry, no? Tabiso, and then after you're gonna get attracted to Tshiamo, and then at the end of the day you love those people with the same love, both. So you want to have them both in your life, but then when you don't want to marry them, they see it as a cheating, but then you're married to Tabiso, and then they see it as a cheating. But at the end of the day, it satisfies you. You want to have them both. I think the society has to normalize it. Women should have multiple partners as they want.
I'd like to ask something according to obviously what you're telling me, how society has obviously perceived this.
Yeah.
Don't you think that it's coming from a certain place for society to have it so instilled in people and stuff like that?
I think South Africa is a culturally oriented country, so I think batho ba culture ni ha ba nana gore motho wa mosadi a be le di-partner tse ngata balekane ba bangata gore ke ntho engwe le ngwe ha e normal gore o Mosotho o Mxhosa Zulu, it's not normal. So ke nana gore ba e shebele ka tsela ya culture gore ya men a patriarchy, the head of the houses, they can have anything they want, they can do whatever they want. But then as women, you have to be inferior. You have to abide to the rules of the culture. You don't have to like obey the partners thing at that. But then as for Banda, the cultures are this CIS normal. Kimosotho, but then Ndebele. Wabo. So kina na culture nyaga, how only motwami, unali the partners thing at. Kore, it's something again. It raises red flags.
Yeah.
At home. Wait, yeah, it's something like that.
I think that I see it in this manner, right? Like I feel like nature also supports that. There are more males than females.
Exactly. That's
and also
the point.
A female can be pregnant with one child, but a man can impregnate a lot of women at the same time. So I think nature also supports. So what are your views on that, Tshiamo?
I don't necessarily agree. I don't think all relationships are between male anatomy and female anatomy. I think you've got a lot of same-sex anatomy relationships, various forms of gendered relationships, and not all relationships are about procreation and having kids. For instance, I never want to have kids in my life. You know, that's not something I want. So I don't think the whole who can have children, etc., is really at the core of this double standard. I agree with Faana, it's culture, even religion. You've got religious figures that have multiple wives and concubines, but it's also the various institutions we've created even in modern society. Like money, for instance. You have a world where men occupy wealth.
Yes.
And if men occupy immense wealth, I mean, a lot of those marriages are done as a means of wealth for women to access. We did this in school. We had this paper where they would discuss how men who worked in the mines would share their beds with women, and those women would be considered bedwives to these men who are employed. So you have this money as an institution. You also have opportunities that you're able to access, political power. You know, men have so many benefits because of what Faana said, the patriarchy, that it creates that inequality. So you can't imagine this world where women are able to have multiple partners without taking down all those institutions of patriarchy.
So we can say that it's not a problem that only South Africa has. It's a global problem because even religion itself, even the Bible, when you read like the Bible, it's rare to find a female that is exploring themselves with different men, but when women do it, it's really a big issue. Yeah, so what is your thought on polyamory? Like right now, for instance, I want you to define it so that everyone that is listening understands, right? Because people might see it as cheating, but now there's consent, it's open.
You want to go first?
Okay, I think polyamory. First, we define what polyamory is. Should I define it in
your understanding?
Yeah. So I think it's when a homo couple are having a relationships out of their relationship. If you get what I'm saying, yeah. So most of the people don't know what polyamory is. I didn't know it. I don't want to lie. I've just learned about it a few weeks ago. Yeah. So I think who kena in a polyamory, it can talk do we want to partake in it or what? You have to sit your partner down. I want to take another partner, and you might find out how another partner. Your partner. Do you see the confusion? So I think polyamory for now, I don't love it, but then I'd partake in it. Personally, I'd partake in it because I understand.
Yeah, there's so many different types of polyamory, you know, and sometimes one person will be polyamorous, another will, but they'll have a very different understanding. So, for instance, what Faana is describing is these people might have had a monogamous relationship, one person, one partner, and then they went from that kind of a setup into an open relationship, right? But in my case, I've never been in a monogamous relationship. With me, it's always been open from the start. So there was never a transition. But Faana's right. A lot of us just don't know about this concept. I mean, I was practicing it before I even knew what it was called.
What the term is. So can we say we know the open relationships? We don't know I didn't know the term as well, but I knew there are open relationships. So we can say that it's
an open relationship.
But usually I think like the reason why we invent a term is so we can have conversations. Because then if someone already thinks of something, like when you hear open relationship, they think hookup culture, multiple sexual partners. But then when I tell someone I'm polyamorous, I've never heard that word before, it creates an opportunity for us to have a new conversation. So we invent a new word so that we don't get tired. Like the first time when I tell people I'm open or poly, they're like, oh, but aren't you worried about STIs? You know, like sex is always the first chat they have because that's the first thing someone thinks of when you say open. Then on the cheating thing, I think it is still possible to cheat in an open or polyamorous relationship, because what cheating actually is going against the agreement you've made with your partner or partners, or you know. And if you're engaging in some form of, I don't know, group polyamory, like it's just the four of us and only the four of us are dating each other, that is still polyamory. If you go out of the group, that could still be considered cheating. But it's very complicated. Like there are these people called solo polyamorists. They aren't actually in a relationship with anyone. You know, technically they're solo, but they don't mind being with multiple people. None of the people they're with are the main partner. Everyone is loved equally, etc. So, and then you have people that I'm okay with dating a couple. So that, you know, you two were already a couple, you two already married, and now I am now together with both of you. You know, there's so many different variations of it. My personal way that I practice polyamory is very much on this whole equal tip. For me, I don't have a person that I'm with who's my main partner, and then subsidiary partners that I enter into. For me, I think polyamory is an opportunity, like Faana said, to love multiple.
I would like to ask this in the context of South Africa and Mzansi, basically, whereby, like you saying like you wouldn't mind being like obviously open, and then obviously you said you have tried it out. Do you feel like it's something that South African black men specifically, which most of them are doing, but they're not really, obviously they don't know, or they're not aware that that's actually what I'm doing. They just think, nah, I'm just playing around, I'm just doing my thing. Don't think that obviously, with them obviously knowing what is the actual thing that they're doing, if you actually have to define it for them, don't you think they will be more conscious and actually try it out? Because obviously you said you have to have some consent from the other partner, and I feel like it will be a better way. Although I want to also second that question, which is, do you think it fits in a culture whereby there's so much STDs, AIDS is high, and all of that stuff? Because that's the reality of South Africa.
On the STI one, the best way for us to prevent the spread of STIs, sexually transmitted infections, is to have more conversations about sex. It's to be more open about the fact that we're poly. You know, you'll think that you're only with this person, and you don't know that they're with other people. And that's why you're both more reckless. But if you knew that your partner was engaging with multiple other people, you would be more careful.
That's true.
At UFS, I worked with the gender office, the HIV/AIDS office. We worked in STIs. The best way to stop the spread of STIs is to be more open about the fact that we're seeing multiple people. because telling someone don't see multiple people, you're not going to stop them from doing that. Then on black men, what I've seen among us as men is we don't practice this in a healthy way. We practice it with deceit, gaslighting, we lie about it, we conceal it, we use the power that we have, money, political power, social power, etc., to coerce women into, like, if a woman doesn't want to engage in a polyamorous relationship with us, it's sort of forced onto women. And if you've seen these telenovelas like Generations, etc., they discuss those themes all the time, where a woman doesn't want a second wife to be brought into the marriage, but the man has so much power, he forces it onto her. So my only message to black men who are practicing this is to practice in a healthy way, because right now we're not doing it in a healthy way.
And what about you, Faana? What do you think?
I feel like men, if they know about the polyamory, if they know what they're doing is polyamory, they'd use it as a defensive mechanism to their woman, if you get what I'm saying. So they'd use it if Masai, why are you doing this? He's gonna be like, I'm a polyamorist. And it's a responsibility as a man to protect yourself. Whatever that you do, wherever you sleep, you have to know that there are STIs, STDs, and everything. You have to protect yourself. Make sure that whenever you sleep around, you always carry a condom, perhaps everything. So I think engaging in such relationship, it goes with responsibilities.
And also, I think it's a respect thing. I think that's what lacks in most relationships, where you find men having multiple partners. There's no respect, and now you claim you love this person, but you don't show them respect. And showing love also goes with being respectful. And also, like, you find that men have double standards. It's very difficult to find a man that will stay when a female has multiple partners, but females stay. So now if we're opening it to South African men, where there's so many double standards and where men have more power than females, do you think that it will get to a point where it is fair and I can do it, you can do it, without going to the point of I'm female and you're male? Because honestly, we know that's I don't know about other countries, but South African men have double standards. It's really rare, guys, to find. You find women in marriages where they know my husband cheats, but she doesn't cheat. And the minute she does it, then it's gonna leave. And we know it's a choice thing, but it has been made a woman's thing to stay in relationships. We even call it upegeze. Yes. So do you think society is heading to a direction where women will also have the same opportunity to, like, express ourselves in relationships?
I don't think so. I don't.
Your reason being?
Okay, I don't think it will get there because we are still stereotyped. We're still stuck with the information of back in the days, our forefathers and everything. So women are seen as inferior, as I've said before. So if ule mosadi o batla go kena into another relationship or unto unyetswe, and then we're not batla ho etsa ho tswa ka ra lenyalo ha o tswa ka lenyalo, but then o na le di multiple partners kantle, monna wa ha thola obviously o tlo hlala ha ba forgive banna. That's what I'm going to tell you. Men don't forgive. You can forgive him if he cheated on you, but then how to forgive how cheated. That's what I'm going to tell you. Basadi, they are seen as inferior, and the concept of patriarchy, when I just political powers, challenge and everything, most of the women are stuck in marriages because of that. For an example, you come from a poor background and then you have nothing back at home. Your man has powers, he has money, he owns everything. When you think about going out of that marriage to start afresh, what are you going to do? You see, that's the question. And most of the women, but I'm inferior. What am I going to do after this? Some of them are not even educated enough to go on their own.
I would like to ask then, since like Fishy has just said that in this case, obviously with how females obviously perceive, what happens then when it's the same sex? What are the dynamics there? Because it's people from the same sex. For instance, let's say a man and another man, basically. What are the dynamics there then? in the situation that she just mentioned?
Okay, in our situation, like I'm gonna according to my perspective and my experience.
Okay.
For me, polyamory, is it polyamory having multiple partners? Okay.
Yes.
Polyamory for me, as in Prinjohn, I'd agree to it. Okay. And a relationship in the but way to same-sex relationships. Honali ntwinoring, how na a superior, how na a inferior. We are both men. We agree to the same thing. If I want to do this, how to plan? Luena, if you want to do this, you're not gonna tell me what to do. I'm gonna do whatever that I want at the time I want to, and you're gonna do it because there's no one who is inferior. And it's rare if you can find there are gay people who are in a relationship and the one is inferior and the one is superior and the one is not working and the one is working. We are both working. We have our own money. Everyone in the relationship has everything that they could ask for. I'm sorry. So I don't think polyamory in a gay community is something that's rare. It's there. Just that we don't know it's polyamory.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you feel like it's something that is accepted and it's within.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand.
Tshiamo, you don't have anything to add, anything to supplement on that?
I mean, those two questions are interlinked because on the one side you have a society where women cannot access agency within a relationship because men just have so much power.
Yeah.
And if we're ever going to have a fair society, all those structures of power need to be burned to the ground, you know. On the second level, you have same-sex relationships where that in and of itself is fighting against structures of power, you know. And that's why I think polyamory is way more accepted in queer spaces, because just the identity of being queer is fighting against, you know, a structure. So you're having these conversations. You actively have to talk about your relationship and your sexuality, and you have to explore all of that because that is part of your identity and the way you have to relate with the world. Whereas people who are like in heteronormative relationships or heterosexual relationships, they aren't talking about, you know, their relationship. They aren't talking about our sexuality or how we engage with the world, or we're not having any of those conversations. So that's why we're so far behind in creating healthy polyamorous relationships and breaking down the structures.
Do you think there's a specific reason besides obviously the wealth and the power that men possess? Because men probably, we shy away from even speaking about it, probably majority of us.
When you're a little kid, you're given values as a man by this patriarchy. It tells you who you must be, how you must interact with the world. It tells you how to view women and yourself. Like from a really young age, you go to a school, a church, your friends, you watch television, you listen to music, and everywhere in this society is patriarchy telling you how you should be a man, and in very unhealthy and very toxic ways that are really harmful to women. So I think it's, you know, before you even have all the adulty stuff that we talk about, having a house and, you know, being a politician, etc., you already have that power from when you're a little kid, because already the norms around you are formed. I mean, I think someone who's in primary or pre-primary, or high school, a little boy can have multiple partners without it being frowned upon, but a girl can't, already from a young age. So it's everything. Institutions of media, finance, business, religion, culture, recreation, entertainment. Every single institution that we've built in society is built for men's power.
Okay, I'm going to ask you guys it's probably a very hard question. Obviously, everything must have a solution somehow in order for us to achieve balance, because I feel like balance is key, and balance in this equation is very key. Obviously, in order for us to have balance in this situation, we need people to have the same equal opportunities, basically. That means obviously having women have like accessibility to power, to wealth, and all those things. What ways and what what like things can we implement for us to have that balance? Like, can you guys think of, because we have to think of solutions. We can't just highlight all the problems. We have to think of solutions. So obviously as a society we can try to move forward. It's not easy because it's something, like you said, has been stemmed down all the way to the roots and stuff like that. But what is a way forward that we can obviously figure out as a society?
I mean, Tshiamo actually for it starts from the young age. I think it has to be included in the curriculum. It has to be included in the curriculum, like life orientation. There should be such topics in life orientation subjects and all that. If like a subject about this kind of life, it's fine. It has to start from the curriculum. I think so. That's the only way.
I agree.
That's the only way.
Yeah. I mean, by the time you're our age, and it's been so driven into you, it's gonna take a lot of labor from like us. Like, there's no way for the outside world to convince a man to take off the patriarchy. Men, we need to do the work, like in our own private spaces, to really look at the kind of identities we've created for ourselves and tear that off. I mean, it's not enough to attend a march or to put out a tweet or to just talk about it. It's also about changing who we have become. But then for young boys who are still being brought up, who haven't yet fully been, indoctrinated in the patriarchy, we really need to be sending a different message for the young boys. For us who are already old, the only way a man who's our age is going to change is if we do the work.
And also, like, you see things like music, television shows, they show this, like, it's seen everywhere. You see in movies, you see females, they powerless, they don't have, maybe say the lady's a housewife, but you'll never see a husband that is just there at home with no money, with no power, with no car. So also, even if they taught at school, the music which they listen to, the things they watch, how things work in the household, it plays a big role. How things work at church, and you find that it's also going to be very difficult for churches to change because they move according to the Bible, and the Bible also says a whole lot of different things. So now, I think it is a very difficult thing to work on, like trying to equalize every single thing. It's really not the easiest, but it has to be done. And I agree with you that we need to do inner work as individuals. Like, people need to work on themselves, and we have to have these conversations over and over again, so people can learn and unlearn certain things.
And I feel like it won't obviously come in a quick time or space and stuff like that. But like you're saying, it's things like what we're trying to do here. At least people must know. Like you said earlier, Tshiamo, that most men don't even know what they're doing. There's like, obviously the definition of what they're doing is something important, because at least it allows for conversations. So I feel like there are more things that need to be defined in society so we can be able to have those conversations. And also, what I would also like to ask is, basically, have any of y'all had any of these experiences whereby maybe you feel someone maybe that is close to you, you feel like they've experienced, like what Fishley is speaking about, that something has been rooted so deep that it has affected their mentality and their way of thinking around the topic that we're speaking about specifically, besides you guys, obviously, since you guys have just experienced and your experiences, anyone else outside from like you yourself, like maybe your support structure, something like that?
I went to an all-boys school. In university, I stayed in a male-assigned residence for a year. And I can say from that experience, it is very clear. Almost every single man who is raised in South African society, global society, has these objectifying views of women, and that will affect relationships. It definitely will affect relationships. I think none of us are healthy as men. We're engaging in such toxic, especially heterosexual men, especially. We're engaging in such toxic relationships with women. Any one of my men friends, that's an example of someone who's engaging in a very unhealthy relationship. And I don't even think, like Faana said earlier, to take this out of you, is you constantly working on it, but it's still going to be there. You need to be checking yourself every single day And even after doing all that,
Yeah.
a man is always still going to be a space of violence. Like there's no way for me to be walking late at night on the street, no matter how much work I've done in my personal capacity, that's going to prevent a woman who's also walking from seeing me as a threat. Why? Because that woman knows that she lives in a society where men enact violence on women. So no matter how much personal work you do, you're always going to be a space of violence. So yeah, every man in my life is an example.
I think you have said it all.
Do you want to add anything else before we move on and stuff pertaining to the topic, basically?
I think the last thing I just want to say is we can do it. Like if you look at how men have been responding to all the problems in society, like beauty standards and even patriarchy, which tells us that we have to have certain body types or whatever. Men try and act like, you know, we're victims in this world where women now have more power, have more control. Women can choose to not want to have sex with a man, etc. It's like a lot of men's first response to the changing world is to pretend like we're victims now when we still have power. I think what needs to happen as men is we need to, think of empowerment for us as well, but in this sense, we don't have to listen to patriarchy. When patriarchy tells us that we need to be a space of violence, we can reject that. When it tells us that we need to demean women, we can reject that. When it tells us to lie, to gaslight, to form oppressive relationships, to abuse, to engage in gender-based violence, to rape, etc., we need to reject all those things that are being whispered into us. And that's what empowerment should look like for us. But men we aren't doing that. Instead of looking at a changing world where women are gaining more power, men's response is to say, how is it now that a woman can choose to not want to have sex with me, etc., etc.? We're responding with this pretending like we're victims now in this world, when really it's an opportunity for us finally to look at what feminism is doing and what message feminism has for us and how we can step out of these pressures of patriarchy. And we can finally have a real identity. Like men, we grow up so broken, so toxic, so right, emotionless. We can finally now be the emotional creatures, healthy, engage in things that aren't toxic. That's my message, and I think that's what opportunity we have now.
And I'm so happy that you said that, right? Because now it made me realize that you're not running away from the fact that men are trash. And when the minute people say men are trash, men are quick to say not all men are trash. Instead of taking accountability of what is happening currently in the world, they shy away, and a person wants to justify themselves that I've never done this, I've never done that, but they don't want to even hold their friends accountable for their actions. So I'm really happy, I'm impressed that you said that, because now it makes you realize that they are men that are trying.
Still I think all of us need to do a lot more than we're doing in our own lives. Like, it's very common for us to be activists on Twitter, but then in our own personal lives, like we embody gender norms, like in our household, in the media we consume. It's like there's just so much work that we still need to do on ourselves.
How about you?
So you have to change who you are. You have to change how you think. It starts with and how could you change everything will have to change. Familiarize with yourself with the modern world.
Oh, that's great, guys. And I'm sure a lot of people who listen to us, obviously, and listen to you guys and your input will see how valuable conversating about this topic is. And obviously, officially, you can just close off, and then I would like to obviously play a game with you guys before we end off.
So are we agreeing that we're all feminists here? That's an achievement for me, because I like men that are feminists, because it shows that you understand what feminism is. Because we're not saying we're anti-men, but we're just making sure that we're an equal. Yes, and I think we also need to remove gender from everything, because it breeds so many problems. So I always say gender is irrelevant. So we're human beings, and we should be treating each other like human beings. So thank you guys, thank you so much, and we can give it to Tabs.
Alright guys, our next now, it's a trivia, and you guys I wanna obviously start using the mind like you guys have been doing. And I'm not gonna ask like anyone specifically, like if you think you know the answer, whoever just raises their hands first. And obviously there's 8 questions, so basically whoever has the most has probably won the trivia question. So the first one, the first one is basically name any one of the top 2 richest people in SA. Name any one of the 2 richest people in SA.
In SA.
Yeah,
In SA. Sorry, who?
Motsepe.
Is he in the top 2? Like
South Africa.
probably like
In South Africa.
Yeah, the
Nicky
top 2.
Oppenheimer maybe.
You're correct.
Okay, that's correct. That's wrong. So
Black people. We're not there yet.
So 1 to Tshiamo there. Okay, question number 2. Okay, please name the 2 major. Hey, you guys are zoned in. I like that. Please name the 2 major ethnic groups in SA.
2 major ethnic groups in SA.
Yeah.
Amazulu.
Xhosa and Zulu.
Okay, that goes to Faana. That's 1-1 now. Okay, question 3. How many years did Nelson Mandela spend in prison?
27.
Oh, correct. Oh, you knew that, but you can say it first.
I'm just like.
Raise your hand.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, okay.
But then we were working together.
We're tag team.
Fair enough. Okay, question 4 now. Okay, SA shares its border with how many countries?
6 countries.
Okay, correct. Solid. That was quick. I thought you were gonna count.
I did.
Really, that was quick. That's quick.
I was trying to understand the question. Okay.
Oh, okay, so you guys can't work together anymore. 2-2, okay? 2-2, and there are 4 more questions left. We were halfway, basically.
Okay, great.
Okay, which year was the movie Tonti?
2005.
Why? I had the answer.
What?
You should believe your
I didn't even say release though. When did the production start? I'm like, correct. That's 3-2.
I can't write for like a culture magazine.
That was quick. Okay, question 6. What does BMW stand for?
Oh shit. Sorry.
That's literally what's going on in my head. Why are you asking me the capitalism questions?
Be my wife.
Yeah, that's what they said. Be my wife.
Oh, can I?
Can we get a clue?
Okay,
can you phone a friend?
No, I can give you 2 clues basically. It's something, since BMW is a car, definitely one of the words has to do with something with a car. Okay, exactly. And what does a motor do?
Oh. But,
okay, without the motor, nothing's gonna
work.
Exactly. Okay, I'm not gonna give this to anyone, but the answer is Beveren Motor Works.
Yeah, you know.
the bee.
Yeah.
The bee.
We're really good socialists.
Okay. What is the score again? We are level.
3-2.
Okay, there's 2 more questions now. Okay. What is the largest province in SA?
Wait, in terms of like size, like I think it's in Northern Cape.
Yeah.
No,
Western Cape.
I'm just not going to be specific, but what is the largest province in SA?
Is the Northern Cape largest in terms of like?
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
In terms of space, it's the largest. But if I say if it was population, I would have said like what is the biggest population? Yeah, so that's correct. It is Northern Cape. Okay, so that's 4-2 basically. Last question.
There's no chance anymore. Like,
who performed the first human transplant?
Oh, that was Chris Barnard.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
Well done. 5-2. Great now. It's been great having you guys, and really enjoyed like what you guys have had to say and stuff like that. And trust me, people have learned a lot, myself included. And you guys are great characters. And thanks for actually having you guys here. Your presence was overwhelming, and
thank you
on to better things. And I hope you guys enjoy. And achieve more. I'm sure there's a lot of things waiting for you guys, and you guys are going to achieve. If you any words for them too?
Thank you guys. Keep on keeping on. Keep on educating, empowering, and motivating. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for inviting us.
And it's Tabs Patron and Fishiwe, the partnership. And don't forget, guys, to comment and subscribe, and also comment any topics you guys want us to speak about. And obviously we'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye.